Welcome back to Relocation Serbia. Today we have Kimberly, who recently moved to Serbia just under a year ago. And today we want to talk to Kimberly about her experience to moving to Serbia, some of the struggles that she's experienced, and why they decided to establish, or why she decided to make Serbia her home. Welcome to the video today, Kimberly. Thanks for coming by and having a chat. It's been about a year now since you've been here, and so my first question would be: is what inspired you to come to Serbia?
Well, I mean that I would say is a variety of factors. The biggest one was I think that we felt we needed a lifestyle change, and we wanted to get away specifically from North America, from the idealization of woke ideologies. I myself have an educational background, and so seeing what goes on in the schools and what they're teaching to kids these days, it was not something that I was comfortable with, and it was not something that I wanted to encourage in my own family.
Interesting, and you're coming from Canada, if I'm correct.
That's correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That's interesting because there's a lot of people that say the same thing as what you're expressing as well. And so, with that said, how would you describe the differences in lifestyles between Serbia and Canada?
I would say I have noticed in being here, and you mentioned, that I've been here for a year or so now. I would say the biggest difference that I notice in lifestyle is that people here are much more laid back, whether they are expats or whether they are, I guess I would say true Serbians, whether they're Serbian people. They're a little bit more laid back. They're more relaxed. They tend to just enjoy life a little bit more. Yeah. Things are not a rush. Nothing is ever really a hurry, so to speak. Which is nice in certain aspects. Yeah. I feel like that's very that it's not the same thing as North America where everything is go 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 and it's on to the next thing a lot of the times.
The kafana lifestyle here is really alive and well, right?
Yes, you can walk out of your house or your apartment or whatever. The kafanas are always full. The cafes are always packed. People are always out and about. Yeah. Always out and about here.
Yeah, kafana is almost like your second home, and where business typically takes place these days.
That's the joke.
That's absolutely, absolutely. That's great. And what cultural aspects of Serbia did you find most surprising compared to Canada?
Most surprising, I was definitely a little bit taken aback with the family values. I mean, I was warned that Serbia is much different from North America, Canada, meaning Canada and the U.S. in particular. I would say that I was a little bit taken aback with how much family is valued here. When you go out and about, one of the biggest things I noticed, one of the biggest and the first things that I noticed was families walking everywhere. You don't typically see women walking by themselves here, or if they are by themselves, they're in a large group with other moms and kids and whatnot. But a lot of the times it's families that go for walks, or it's you'll see grandma and grandpa playing with the kids. That's another thing. The kids here, you cannot walk 6 feet without tripping over a child, or figuratively, of course, tripping over a child or over a pregnant woman. There are so many. That was the biggest thing I think that surprised me. There's so many kids here. The family is extremely valued here. And that's not something that you really see in North America. Much less do you see kids, running here, there, and everywhere out and about.
Would you say that's more because Serbia is a lot safer than what Canada is, or what would you say that is?
Yes, I would say so for sure. I know when we first got here, I went for walks by myself. I went for a couple walks later at night, 11 p.m., midnight, occasionally, and I never had a fear of someone following me or being attacked or whatever. It's very quiet here at night. It's very peaceful. It's not a place where I would say the danger. I mean, bad people exist everywhere, but here it's much more it's much more quiet. It's much more laid back. There's not a whole lot of crime or violence, I would say, here.
Yeah, it's not. It's yeah, exactly. And if it is, it's mostly an isolated incident here and there. And
Yes,
not every country is going to have, like you said, they're good or bad, but it's not like you hear it on the news every day or multiple.
You don't hear about random muggings or people getting shot at or stabbed or anything like that. It's if there is violence, it's a little bit more direct. It's not something with that's random. Yeah,
for sure. And so, since coming to Serbia from Canada, what have been the biggest challenges you faced to adapting to life here in Serbia?
Oh, the language is definitely one. That is a little bit of that is the biggest challenge, I would say, is a language barrier. Not being fluent in Serbian. Not being fluent in Serbian is a little bit of a stopper, I suppose. Not anything that can't be overcome. That's why we have Google Translate and things like that.
Yeah.
I would say the language barrier is the biggest thing. To the biggest challenge. That kind of bleeds into other areas of life, right? Like going to the grocery store, something simple like going to the grocery store is a little bit more challenging because I don't speak the language. So if I can't find something, I would have to ask someone or whatnot to be able to find things, right?
Yeah. But a lot of people do also speak English. It might not be perfect English.
Yes, that's something that I've noticed, and actually it's funny that you bring that up because I noticed that when people when Serbians hear me speaking English, most of the younger ones, that is, they're very excited because they're like, oh, a chance to practice my English. I've literally had people like women come up to me and, oh, you speak English, and I heard you speaking English to so and so, and they're excited because they want to practice their English. I've since learned that here in Serbia they do take English in school, but they don't teach it beyond like grade 12, right? And so if you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah.
So I think I know that a lot of people here understand English, but they just may not speak it very well. So when they heard me speaking English, the idea is, oh, you speak English. They want to practice, right? They're excited. That said, I am trying to learn a little bit of Serbian, key phrases and stuff, just to be able to communicate. I will say that tends to go over very well when I'm out in restaurants or whatever, because people see that you're trying, right? They recognize the effort and kind of meet you halfway.
Makes sense.
Right? Yeah.
And it's funny that before we started this video, you're telling me about a story about the little girls that heard you speaking English in the grocery store.
In the grocery store, yeah. They were really excited. They were... They were so cute. They wanted to practice their English, so they insisted that we speak in English. And I said, okay, no problem.
And how kids are so much more advanced, which kind of, I think, brings into the next question of what aspects of the Serbian society or community life do you appreciate the most?
Yes, that is one for sure. And yes, actually, that story ties in very well with that. Kids here are much more mature at a much earlier age, I feel. These two little girls that I was telling you about in that story, they were one of them was, I think, 7, and the other one was 9, something like that. So very young.
Yeah.
Still kids, and they're talking to an adult stranger in the grocery store. Like you don't really see that. You don't do that in Canada. You do that in Canada or in the US in the wrong places, and you won't see your kid again. Right? The consistent fear is kidnapping or whatever else. And I think that really was an adjustment for me, that mindset. But that's one thing that I do really appreciate, is that kids here are a lot more mature because the society is much more, in a lot of ways, much more advanced than I feel like North American society is.
Yeah.
Speaking on a general basis, of course, like there's pockets here and there and whatnot in Canada and US as well as here in Serbia. But as a general rule, I think that the society here is more advanced than it is in Canada.
Yeah, and another thing I think you pointed out before we started this video was that, when you first got here, you're taking public transportation to be the bus to be precise, and how when you got onto a bus, you notice that the elderly women, when they get on there, that people would get out of their seat to allow them on there, or if it was a pregnant woman, they'd allow that, which is something you don't see in Canada either. So
yes, or not as much. It's not as common. Pregnant women and the elderly are definitely looked at as a higher echelon, I suppose, of society, right? That they need to be catered to and looked after and protected. I will say too that kids here, there's been a couple times where kids have, gotten on the bus, that I saw these kids on the bus and they're just little, maybe like 3 or 4, and they're struggling to keep their balance. Grown adults, typically grown men or grown women, will stand up and here, have my seat, kind of thing, because they're kids and they want them to like feel safe and secure and whatnot. So that's another thing that sort of brings me to my next point. And this might be a little controversial, but the the patriarchy is alive and well here in certain aspects. And that is one thing I've noticed here, is that men are very chivalrous. Random strangers are very chivalrous. They're very polite, not threatening whatsoever. Women are looked at as people that need to be protected, and kids are looked at as the future of society, and they need to be protected,
very
right?
much.
And the elders are looked at as people who are older and wise and need to be respected. Yes. That sort of idea.
That makes sense.
Right?
No, that totally makes sense. And, that might be one of the reasons that Serbia remains one of those, that still hold old Christian values, because I believe in Christianity, that's one of the things that is valued, is, the older generation, children, and of such. Now, since moving to Serbia from Canada, I know you mentioned that, you work for yourself, and so like you really didn't have to do any, job searching, but what are some of the things that, you've noticed about work-life balance, or just working here as opposed to in Canada, and how did you adapt to that?
Yes, you're right. I do work for myself, so it's I didn't really have to deal with the job market here. In terms of how that's affected me, I mean, because my business is, in North America, that's evening hours, right? Serbia is 6 or sometimes 5 hours ahead of North America. And so instead of working what used to be very early mornings or daytime hours, I now work evening hours, which I thought I would hate. I actually thought I would hate that coming here. That was one thing that I was really concerned about. That was a massive lifestyle change that I was concerned about before it happened. Then, we got here and it actually wasn't that bad. I find that I very much enjoy it. I find that it's very nice to be able to wake up in the morning, have a bit of a slower morning, a slower start to the day, and ease into things, and not feel rushed. Then I also have the entire day to do the things I need to do, go to the gym, go get groceries, whatever needs to happen for the day, organize things, get things ready. I can deal with things from the previous day, all that stuff. And I've done all of that while everyone else is still sleeping, right? On the East Coast or the West Coast or whatever it is, back in North America. So that's been really nice. I was pleasantly surprised to find myself very happy to work evenings. And typically, I start work at 3 or 4 in the afternoon, and I might work until 10 or 11 at night. Sometimes a little earlier, just depends on what's going on for the day.
And what kind of work do you do? And tell the viewers what kind of work you do and how they can find you, just in case, someone's looking out there.
Thank you. I appreciate that. So I work in the education business. My company is Star Students. I work in the homeschooling and alternative education field. So we specialize in tutoring services and homeschooling services for parents as well as for children. If you're looking to find me, I'm sure that you can leave links and whatnot in the description.
Yeah, definitely will. And it might be, an option for people that are looking to relocate to Serbia and having children that come here. And instead of, going right into the, education system here, or if they're looking for alternative education, you could help them out as well here with that and still keep them in that North American, education system.
For sure, yeah. I know there was a couple that I spoke with that wanted to do that, and that's actually something that I think expats should know before they move here. Is that when you first move here, because you are an expat, I don't believe you can put your children in public school right away.
No, not right away, but you can enroll them. And there's also private schools here as well if you want to do that as well.
That's right.
Yeah, absolutely. And now, last couple questions before we wrap this up. What would you say to someone in Canada or the United States, for that matter, who is considering moving to Serbia? Because a lot of people in North America, I would say, have that mindset that, Serbia is stuck in medieval ages or is the old USSR, Soviet Russia, and, we're on all horse and buggy here.
I had that attitude before I came here. I said, well, you might as well be asking me to move to modern day Russia. When the idea was posited to me, I would say, like, the flippant side of me wants to be like, pack your bags and come over here. Mm-hmm. But realistically, I think it's a little bit harder than that. I will say that I am one of the most what if people out there. And I asked all the what if questions before coming here. Mm-hmm. I asked all of the difficult things, and I imagined every possible scenario. I also moved here while pregnant, so like that was another thing as well. I would say, from how cautious I was about moving here, there is nothing that can compare to having it be a real life experience. It wasn't until I got here and I experienced life for, a couple months, 3-4 months, that I was like, oh, you know what? Like, this is really not what I thought it was going to be. The idea of the medieval USSR, that's exactly the concept that I had before I came here. And it was the idea of, well, I don't think I'm going to like it. We're stuck in the Middle Ages, right? It's not that way at all. In a lot of ways, Serbia, especially with technology, is more advanced, actually, than Canada and the US. Mm-hmm. So my final thought to people, my final, I guess, sentence would be, just come and try it out. Mm-hmm. You can always go back. Mm-hmm. That was my thought. Well, I can always turn around and go back if I don't like it.
Makes sense. No, that's a good point. You can even, if you have a visa-free travel, come and check it out for 3 months and decide. And what a lot of people do. And the final question is, reflecting on your journey, do you think moving to Serbia was the right decision, and why?
Why? Again, that's a variety of factors, but I think the biggest reason that I would say is because we needed a change, we needed something different, mm-hmm. and we wanted something not just different, but better. Mm-hmm. And we have found that here.
That's great. Great answer. Thanks for meeting me today and, sitting down on this video and discussing to people out there who might be contemplating Serbia and thinking, what if and what's it like, and because you've never actually stepped foot anywhere outside of Canada until you came to Serbia, right?
No.
Yeah, exactly. So
both feet in the deep end.
Yeah, just all at once. So to my viewers, if you guys are interested in reaching out to Kimberly for educational purposes for your kids in homeschooling or alternative education, I will be leaving a link to her website. I believe that's www.starstudents.co.
Yes.
And you guys can reach out to her if you have any other questions about Serbia or educational purposes. I thank you viewers for watching this video, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to leave your comments down in the comment section. Thanks for watching today, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye.